Welcome to the Impact Maker's Journey from Passion to Profits, the podcast showcasing heart-centered coaches, experts, and energy healers who are on a mission to change lives and create meaningful success doing what they love. I'm your host, Wendy Vaughn, business success coach and founder of Impact Maker Coaching. And I've got to be honest, the path from passion to profits is rarely easy, but it's always filled with growth, clarity, and surprising rewards. Now, each week I sit down with inspiring impact makers who have turned their knowledge and wisdom into thriving businesses that are making a meaningful difference for others. I will explore their personal and professional journeys, how they found their calling, and how they continue to stay aligned with their passion along the way. So if you're here to expand your vision about what's possible for yourself, you're in the right place. So join me as we discover the positive ripple effects created by today's guest. All right. Hi there. I have as my guest today, Alana Heim. Now, Alana is a Cosmic Prosperity Activator who serves business professionals and small business owners. So welcome, Alana. I am so excited to have you as my guest today.
I am excited to be here with you, Wendy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am so looking forward to discovering more about you, the work that you do, and your journey as an entrepreneur, because, every entrepreneur's journey is unique because we're all individuals, right? We have different
Yeah.
walks of life, different situations. And, typically that journey includes lots of opportunities for personal growth. Do you agree?
Yeah. It's the one thing that I've heard once you become that business owner, you hear people say, this is where your spiritual journey really seems to be enhanced. And
Yes.
sometimes we don't think that that's the case. We just think, oh, I'm
Right.
just going to go start a business and make some
Start a
money.
business.
And
No, it brings out all these opportunities, as I call it.
Mhm.
So let me ask you, are you the same person now as you were when you first started out as an entrepreneur?
Not even close.
Not even close,
And I would
exactly.
say even each year thereafter, it still is
It,
constantly evolving.
it's still an evolution, absolutely. The business development and personal development, pretty much go hand in hand. And the journey from passion to profits, well, it's not easy, but the thing that's the same really for all of us is that vision of making a difference for others. So I'd love to hear a bit about your journey. So curiously, how long have you been a cosmic prosperity activator, and what exactly prompted you to pursue that passion and become an expert in your niche?
Hmm. My business is called Prosperity Alignment, and it turned 9 just this year in 2025. So it's already been a journey of evolution within the business. And what got me here, I've taken the acronym CPA, Certified Public Accountant, which I am, and I've brought in Cosmic Prosperity Activator.
Nice.
And that is mainly because, yes, when you hear CPA, you're going to think, oh, she must do taxes and bookkeeping or accounting or retirement planning or finance in some capacity that's going to help me really drill in and look at the numbers. And that's what I left behind. So, what prompted me to really shift is I did a lot of estate work. And what that entails is somebody passes, and now we were administering the will, the trust, we're administering the estate, we're helping to work through who's actually going to be allocated certain assets. And yes, it can be laid out in a beautiful plan, and the plan would fall apart.
Mm.
Only in the sense that what was never factored in by the attorneys, by the decedent, or the beneficiaries was that we are human beings, or rather, we're souls in this body having these human experiences, and we have feelings. We have big
Mm.
feelings. We
Mm.
have emotions, right? Mom or dad just passed.
Yeah,
We
huge.
don't we don't factor those. We don't even allow ourselves to grieve. We're still stuck in our heads saying, "Where's my money?" And the
Mm.
entitlement aspects would come through. A lot of the kids would fight the siblings. Maybe mom or dad chose one sibling to be in charge of said estate as the executor, and the other kids didn't like that or didn't trust them. And it
Sure.
just became
Yeah. Yuck.
Really, if you've ever had anybody pass, which, more and more, like we've all had some entanglement or had that experience, and yet where is the human component,
Hmm.
especially when it comes into this big piece of, yes, there's assets and there's money, but even more so, if you were to come to me as the certified public accountant, you want me to do your taxes, it's very transactional. Not always, right? You might have the accountant or the CPA who's really engaged, and yet we don't, in tax season, we don't have the time. And so for me, it was there's more to this person. They have big dreams. Are we really looking at this information and helping them to grow into the person they're really seeking to become? Or am I really here to just help them navigate taxes, save as much money, or be upset because you made so much money and now you owe the IRS a lot of money and maybe you didn't quite plan correctly?
True.
Where are those fears coming from for you to reach that level of
Mm.
success?
Mm.
Where are the emotions that are causing you to not necessarily take the leap, and you're still stuck in some anger because something else happened? That's what prompted me to go, okay, I
Hmm.
don't necessarily want to do tax seasons anymore. I
Right.
don't want to follow what the next
Bigger.
president, yeah, and Congress is going to tell me that all the tax laws are going to be. I don't necessarily want to work at that level and serve humanity. I want to work more in the heart space of connecting with business owners, individuals, couples, to really look at it's not just about the money, it's about the whole sphere of prosperity, and what does that represent for you, your family, and your legacy?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, it is. And money is energy from all intents and purposes, right? And so it is bigger than just a transaction, and there is an impact in terms of what the relationship is. So, yeah, so it is sounds like something that you were really following your heart more than just your pocketbook, right? You could make a lot of money being a CPA and handling all the estate and dit, and collect your paycheck and go on about your life. But it sounds like you had just a bigger calling,
Yes.
a bigger sense of contribution, as something within you felt empty doing the work you were doing, even though it was meaningful. You provided
Yes.
a valid service, but just that knowing that you could be doing or being more of who you are. So that's what I love. That's what I was hearing. And now I know your specialty is working with business professionals and small business owners. So just share with us a little bit, if you would, in terms of what's going on within their lives that has them finally realize that hey, I need your help. I need your support.
I love what you said earlier about passion to profit. And I want to spin it because most of us have started at profit to passion, and
Mm.
that's the journey. So whether you've been tethered to an industry career like myself and you were in it, yes, to help, but you're kind of in it for the profit. You're in it for the paycheck. There's not a lot of passion in it. You know, there
Right.
could be, it could start that way. And I would say I saw that a lot with, let's just say, being in the industry, you do a lot of tax returns. There's a lot of, let's just say, doctors, and they make all this money. But they had the wife who wasn't happy, who spent all kinds of money, maybe even put them so far in debt that now the doctor or the surgeon is like, I have to work to
Mm-hmm.
make up for this. And that's where the passion starts to fall apart, right? Because anytime we're doing something that we're expected to do, we have to do, or we let ourselves believe that we have to do it, that there is
Mm-hmm.
no choice. There's no passion. So I have really found that there's lots of entrepreneurs who started out in corporate or were tethered to some sort of career, and something started to call them, right? I had the big calling. There's something more for me, or I'm here to be of service in a different way. And yes, we still want the money, and the money is important, but something starts to shift in us, our values, even. Maybe we know we're not going to just work as hard as we could in our 20s. Maybe when you have the family, things start to shift and you
Oh
want that
yeah.
work-life balance.
Kids change everything. but but it's true. Our
Yes.
values do evolve.
Yes. And in that evolution, you're evolving and you're starting to recognize that you're here to make a contribution. And so I'm just going to digress a little because it's like I've had to change my views from coming from the CPA industry, where let's just say you're getting close to retirement and someone like me is helping you to get there. Well, I've started to recognize retirement is really for those who don't love what they do. They weren't in it for the passion. Because I will tell you, the people that I meet, the entrepreneurs I meet, the business creators who are so passionate and they just want to contribute their service, you're not going to quit that.
Right.
And ultimately, as we get older, that's where it's an inverted chart. You were profit to passion, but at some point, you really have to be more passion to, come from that passion place. And if there's profit, great. But you're starting to look at, as we get older, it's not so much what I do and how much money I make, but rather, how do I give back to society? How do I contribute? How do I be of service? When people retire, the very thing that they go do is find something to keep them busy, but not just to be busy. It's, I have a gift. I'm here to share it. If you had an expertise, especially, if I've worked with um, people who did retire and they made massive money, they don't just go sit on the beach. They don't live
They may
life in
be
that
for a
way.
little while, but then it gets boring. Yeah.
Yes. So the real piece is we start moving, let's say, from our head to our heart. We start recognizing that I'm here to contribute. What do you need? How can I be of service? And those who are leaving corporate, they're feeling that there's a dissonance, there's an incoherence, there's something that's out of alignment. It just doesn't fit anymore. Maybe they're even starting to burn out. There's a lot of exhaustion. Maybe sickness and illness has started to take over the physical body because, as much as we loved the work, when it became a have to, and oh, I have to say yes to my boss, and I have to meet this deadline, and we just suddenly are just so locked into working, working, working. The body has been giving signals to say, take a break,
Hmm.
pause,
Hmm.
rest. And that's not always the case because, as the beliefs can be so powerful and
Right.
yet the body deteriorates. And I always say, if you don't make the decision, spirit or the universe or some synchronicity is going to make it for you. And that's where
Oh
you
yeah.
can get very
It's
sick. You might have
it's
an
the wake up.
accident. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
wake up call. So your title is Cosmic Prosperity Activator. So help me understand, why is it important to align with the cosmic energies? I'm curious how that folds in. If you can talk a little bit about that, because I know you could probably talk for hours on that. Um, but what is that? How does that align? Why is it important to align with those cosmic energies?
It's the grander, bigger picture beyond just what we know. It's starting to step into the unknown. You can say it's where the miracles happen. I see it really as it's the space where creation begins. So even within that cosmic quantum field, there's that space of the void. And when you can get to that place where there's no thing or there's nothingness, we actually can find creation can begin. Now, when we're taught in school, it's to follow a system, to be very structured, be kind of rigid in our capacity. We think, but we don't necessarily feel. And I know that the world is a blend of, yes, left and right brain, but
Mhm.
it feels like in the business world, we've really pushed or been taught and conditioned to go into that left brain, a lot of the logic, a lot of the thinking. And as much as we can then say, oh no, we need our creatives, and we need to be able to be in that space to just mastermind or let like bigger things
Right.
come together. It still can get, it's like the first thing in business to kind of get shafted.
Mm,
If you're in a business meeting and all of a sudden you really are in the cosmic space, you're getting the download of this like idea that's coming to you. But now, do you speak it? Do you share it? Do you feel like this is the space within that room that it's even available to be heard? Or are you going to be shot down because that's what happens? Like, oh, we don't have time for that. Or that sounds like a great idea, but that's never going to happen. And it's immediately shut down. And so there is that energy that's always present. And sometimes we tap into it, but sometimes we're scared to. Or we
mm,
do tap into it, but we don't know how to share it and
mm,
let it come through. And it just doesn't feel like there's the space for that energy to allow, let's just say, the business to evolve.
mm,
So I see it as where we are on the planet, everything's accelerated. All of the evolution that we're talking about, even just my journey when I first became an entrepreneur, whoever's watching and listening, right? Who you were, you're changing. Well, so is our planet, so is our systems, so is everything.
mm,
And
mm.
again, this is where you can look at it. In my industry as CPA, I got to kind of come in when computers were already a part of the process. But to look at the ledgers, that people would use to account and truly do accounting with their debits and credits and have to balance, you know what I mean? That we can look back and go, whew, okay, that's crazy. But we can still understand it. We can go, okay, that makes sense. You used to have to do it by hand. And then, you had now a spreadsheet that came in. Even if we look at our banking, most people don't use a checkbook anymore because they don't need to, right? Everything's online. So we've slowly been evolving our systems, but sometimes there's still a part of us that's like, but we still need that basis or this foundation. Or else, what are we doing? How can we shift this? How can we make these changes? And there's a lot of the foundation that may crumble because it wasn't, I guess it's kind of like the biblical story of like, what was it built on? Was it like solid rocks or was it sand? Or, like really looking at, was this stability here for the long haul? And yet everything also is meant to evolve. Everything has its own life cycle. And
Mm,
if we're becoming to this point of the life cycle's ending, you can't just use your logic anymore. You have to begin to actually accept that there are other possibilities we've never tapped into. And for me, are you willing to even explore those possibilities?
mm,
And
mm.
that's what I love, right? Because now we get to start opening up with, business professional, business owner, that all of a sudden maybe they did have this job and every time they were shut down with their ideas, but they just know in their heart, this is what I'm meant to create. Then
Mm,
you are. And
mhm.
you're meant to be the evolution, the pioneer to bring in the change that so many people are scared to.
Right. Yeah. No, that's no, just accepting that the intuition, I guess, accepting the prompting. So, well, could you share maybe a story with us about someone that you've worked with, a business owner or somebody that comes to mind that really experienced that shift in their focus and their results as a result of working with you?
Yeah, there's a gentleman that's coming to mind, insurance agent, and he worked for someone else. Right. So
Right.
insurance agents, they tend to, you still are like under somebody else in capacity. You're getting your own clients, you're getting paid, but still this person's taking a good chunk of the commission and the percentage.
Right.
So that's the leap of, this is working, but I know I'm meant for more and I want to branch out.
Mm,
So I got to begin working with him at that point to help him make the leap. Right?
okay.
He's like feeling it, but there's always the fears that can come in. You
Sure.
always get the peanut gallery and people who are going to tell you why it didn't work for them.
Don't step
We
away from the paycheck.
Yes. And for me, it's about helping a client know themselves. First of all, how do you even make a decision? And that sounds kind of a little crazy because, he's like 40 years old. And you might listen and go, what do you mean? Like, how are you going to help this 40-year-old make a decision? Like, clearly he's been doing it his whole life. But we get conditioned to live from this place. And I
Mm-hmm.
will tell you, none of us make decisions from our head. That's a conditioned part. So if I'm here and you're asking me, right, I might go, but there's already a signal. There's already something within the body. It's a little different for each person. I use a tool called human design to kind of help hone in. He's emotional and he's a gut person. So he does get an instinctive gut hit. Well,
Okay.
he's a little overweight. That's already to me a symptom of potentially, are you listening to the body? And or the body's been getting louder, you're not
Mhm.
listening. So helping to redirect and help him to start really hearing and then recognize that because he's also emotional, he needs more time to process. The gut can say, this feels good, but where is he emotionally? Is he having a good day or is he having not such a great day?
Mm.
Because you need a yes at the top of your emotional wave and at the bottom. And this is not something that you get to decide, like, I'm going to change it from a yes to a no.
Hmm.
If you start in this place where you're already emotionally kind of grumpy and you're like, ugh, I don't want to do that. It's a no. We're going to let it be. But for him, he got more clear that he wasn't always in tune with his emotions. And
Okay.
the emotions are huge in being a barometer of where are we? Is this making us happy? Is it upsetting us? Do we even want to go in this direction or not? So getting more and more clear that again, he needs to just have these yes, no questions to come into his field because every time he's asked an open-ended question, he is now thinking about his answer rather than feeling and letting his body help him.
Hmm. Okay.
So, huge piece. Um, I get to also kind of work through what is some of the discernments of what do you feel. So, if he's sitting across from a client, he already knows how to engage with them, maybe even work with the sales conversation a little differently, how he can make sure that he's setting up his business the way it feels aligned for him.
Mm-hmm.
So for him, it was getting to this place. He has all the clients coming in, making sure that yes, maybe there's some structure pieces because that CPA mind comes through and can help with those parts. But ultimately, he's now been in his business for 4 years. And he literally started from nothing and is now making multiple six figures and has a team of 4 individuals plus his admin. And so again, and even he's been in this space right now where we kind of took a break, because I really believe in letting people get where they need to go. I'm not your savior. I'm here to help you. But if you
Yeah.
need support
Sure.
later, great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still here. I'll be that revolving CPA for you. And so he was then in this space of like, I might want to buy a building. I'm in a place where I'm renting, but this isn't necessarily serving me. I'm making money, have this extra. What if I had my own building? And so it was really fascinating because I was coming back in a place where he wasn't necessarily honoring the decision again.
Mm.
He was letting this come back in.
Right.
And so it's interesting because again, when you're starting out or you have $10 and then 1,000, we think, oh my God, that's such a big difference. It's it is, but it isn't. But again, if we go back to some of those pieces of like, oh, I need to think about it and I need to put pen to paper, and now you have you're going to have a business person who's coming in to say, okay, talk to an SBA loan to get a loan for the building. You're going to be talking to your banker. What do they want? They want your financials. They
Mm-hmm.
want the proof. And
Right.
so that starts to spin us back into not trusting ourselves and start going back to, oh, well, maybe, I have this parameter because they're telling me I can only afford so much. Maybe I'll settle on this building. And it
Mm-hmm.
was like, have you listened to your gut? Have you sat with it? And then he went back and drove and he was like, he couldn't get in. So he saw like a different perspective of the building and he realized, I don't even like this area. And it was like, there you go. Like it's not correct. And so these are, to me, these are huge but subtle pieces of it, whether you're buying a building, starting the business, you have to make the decision. But if you're coming from this place, you're going to analyze, you're potentially going to override your truth. And to me, this is what I would see when you have people who regret later. Or
Right.
you sell them a product they didn't want, but you still got over all their objections. They said yes. And later they're writing you the worst review or they're trying to get a refund. That's because they were pressured. They allowed themselves to ignore their truth. And if I can help clients to really know that, everything, the cosmic energy, everything is going to work in your favor to make it happen because you made that aligned decision.
Mhm. Right. Yeah. No, when you are in alignment, there's no doubt about it. Doors open. There's that, ease and flow. And sometimes though it doesn't always work out totally ease and flow, but there's always a solution that appears as well. So I've had a lot of potential clients think that, well, no, I can't really do that and then this because it feels too big or too scary or whatever. But what I'm hearing you say, when you just really tap into what your body is telling you, then the clarity happens. So yeah, I love that. And obviously you're very passionate about doing this work. And I love that because what I've seen over and over during the 7+ years of coaching professional coaches, energy workers, is that, what frequently happens is the frustrations and challenges of running a business, just like you described, maybe all up in their head, plus the inconsistent results sometimes dampens or frequently dampens that original passion.
Mm.
It kind of usurps it, it overrides that, which is why, quite frankly, I love being a business coach because I know that without a shadow of a doubt, people can achieve their level of success and have that type of a thriving business. So, what I would love to hear though is what's your secret to refueling or keeping that passion so vivid for the work that you're doing and serving those business professionals and small business owners? What's your secret?
It's not always being in the business and still allowing myself to step out, which is really hard because I've always been that person too that's like, wait, am I reading this because it's for work or is it because it's like what I love? And it's enmeshed. It's
Mm,
all connected. And I always see all those connections. But
mm,
it's the beauty is I still have kids that are like young enough to keep me young and in that space. So I have 11-year-old twins and a 16-year-old daughter. So it's the play, right? Because I think even now, sometimes I'm like, what is play? Oh, is this fun? And then to recognize, but if I go out and be me, then I get to be in this space and bring all of that higher vibrational, positive, fun energy
yeah,
versus
you've
it
really
coming
tapped into that. Yeah.
right. Versus then if not, I'm just like the stick in the mud accountant that's like going robotically through the
Right. You
motions.
already left that chapter. See ya, see ya. And
Yes.
so, stepping into and owning and living and being
Yes. And
your
and
own
that's
alignment, I think is the
that's
key that I'm hearing, you know.
yes. And then the cosmic energy comes in, and then my intuition or my inspiration actually hits, and I'm like, oh, I should record a video, even though I'm like outside today. And
Yeah.
it's knowing
Oh,
that that's okay, that's perfect, that's
right.
me, and that's being in my alignment.
And just helping other people to achieve those new levels of prosperity, right? And alignment and ease with their financial success. And that is really what's truly creating that ripple effect. And I believe that is infinite. In fact, one of my mentors early in my career was Mark Victor Hansen. Wasn't a direct mentor, but he and Bob Proctor had a
Mm.
mastermind called the 3% Club that I was a part of, and it was an amazing experience. And one of the things that he taught me, and probably several thousands of others, is that he said, Wendy, you need to have a big, hairy, audacious goal. Something that just fuels that passion and helps you to just overcome the little barriers. And so from that, in every iteration or journey path of my entrepreneurial career, I always had a BHAG, as he called it. So currently, my big, hairy, audacious goal is to raise consciousness within humanity, which is why I'm passionate about helping coaches, energy workers, healers to build their businesses, because I believe the work that you do and those in that kind of an expertise are really who are creating that ripple effect that's part of raising the overall consciousness and making the world a better place. So I'm going to put you on the spot, Alana. Do you have a big audacious goal or vision for yourself or your business that maybe you could share?
It's along the lines of raising consciousness and also knowing that I'm the way shower for through the massive change that's coming. It's here, but there's more. And that means helping to hold the grids, and working more kind of in that cosmic space of helping Mother Earth and clearing energies. And so it's more that piece for me personally that I really see that as much as I can just keep expanding my light and allowing my cells to hold more light, that I can be that on the planet, whether people see it or not. And that's kind of the dance, is like being good with, okay, can I be this invisible force, working with God in that capacity to help humanity, to help the earth, the animals, the minerals, just all of these components and aspects, because it's what's needed. It's just, yeah, it's about the
It's your
being. It's
vision.
about the
Absolutely. Yeah, you
energies.
see it clearly. So yeah, I love that. Feeling a place and a participant, and like you said, shepherding or being the wayfinder. So yeah, I love that. I love that. So Alana, what is the best next step for business professionals and small business owners who are, maybe they're frustrated, they're not feeling that sense of passion, they're not feeling that sense of excitement about the work that they're doing, or they're feeling some financial frustrations. So what's their best next step if they're curious about the possibilities of working with you?
I've got 2 free steps. So this really is you trusting yourself. So I'm going to kind of put it out there that if you would love to have a conversation with me, then I'm happy to invite you to have a 20-minute prosperity breakthrough call. And that really is just to connect, see if it's a fit, see if where you are and if I'm the person to support you in that next journey. And if you're like, I don't know, that already feels a little forward, I don't know if I just want to jump in a call, then the other piece that I have is to find your birth information. So birth date, birth time, birth location. I have a link that will take you to request your human design and Gene Keys charts. And that's a little less personal, right? Like you can just kind of submit the information and then I will send you your charts. So that way you can at least begin to learn more about yourself and how you make those decisions, what might your energy type be. And then if you're curious to learn more and then want to go and do the breakthrough conversation, I'm happy to have it be whatever is synchronistic, whatever feels aligned, and when the timing is right for you.
Oh, perfect. So yeah, listeners, look in the show notes because both those links are there. And Alana, I just wanted to thank you so much for sharing your journey and expanding our view of what's truly possible when we have an aligned and flourishing, is the way I see it, relationship with energy and with money. So thank you so much for sharing your journey, your perspectives, and for the work that you're doing.
Yay. Thank you so much, Wendy.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, the real life transformations facilitated by experts like my guest today are truly priceless. I mean, happiness, joy, peace, love, right? These are all what each of us ultimately strives for in life. But becoming a sought after and well-paid coach or energy healer is often challenging, overwhelming, and frustrating. So if you're a heart-centered coach, expert, or energy healer who's striving for more ease, flow, and abundance, well, I've created a special gift just for you. So check out the show notes. All right, well, this is Wendy Vaughn signing off. Thank you so much for tuning in, and be sure to join me for my next episode where we'll be inspired by yet another impact maker's journey.